Hi, we're from Viacom Community Television in Seattle, Washington, and we need deep dish TV because it makes the world a better place to watch TV in.
Yep. Sure does,
Sure, yep, that's the truth. Yep.
Hello, I'm Frank Myers.
And I'm Kay Boylan.
And our program today is Age-Wise. Age-Wise is video produced by adults, seniors, for the benefit of seniors. We're coming to you today from the Portland Cable Access Studios in Portland, Oregon. And that is why you see this red rose. For you, a rose in Portland grows.
How true.
Now, of the 28 entries in this category of Age-Wise, 11 have been selected for showing. Would you like to tell us on what basis these were selected, Kay?
Yes, certainly. There were several different criteria. One of these was that they represented different parts of the country. A second was that they are a selection from studio productions and from location productions. Then too, we also selected because of their way they dealt with the problems, the aspects of aging.
I'm glad you said aspects as well as problems of aging.
Yes.
We hear so much of those. And these programs emphasize the fun that can be had during the aging process.
That's true. And then there's the Age-Wise favorite was the personal profile category. In this, it deals with people who are our age and older who are actually really doing things, having fun.
That sounds great. Now let's look at some of these entries.
Quickly Aging here is an excerpt from a complete original play performed by the Elders Arts Theater Group of Somerville, Massachusetts. It's unusual because it's an artistic expression of a common problem, the moving of a parent into a nursing home.
The name of the nursing home is Twin Elms. They all seem to have these idyllic names. When I arrived with John, he said, "Here we are, Caro." His voice was unnaturally cheerful, in the way people have when they are addressing children or the feeble-minded.
Yes, honey, we have found a new home for Granny. No, this one is very nice. Granny is happy, and she likes it there. And we can visit her whenever we like. No, sweetheart. Granny is not coming home again. She is not going to ever be able to leave her new home. This is her new home forever.
Old age, they say, is a gradual giving up. But it's strange when it happens all at once. That's a real test of character. No one likes to look hard at disagreeable things, and I'm not alone in that.
Sister H comes a-knocking. She comes knocking at my door. Yes, Sister H comes a-knocking. Knock, knock, knocking at my door. I run to double bolt it, but Sister H keeps knocking all the more.
I've been studying one of the nurses here. They're not all like her. But it really only takes one. It is better to think of her as a being remote from the human, one who flourishes on the despair and impotence of the weak. Oh, she puts on a terrific act when the relatives appear and coos over someone that she has treated badly a few moments before. Then she's full of compassion.
Imagine we take them in, poor things, and give them a real home here.
We are talked about always as them, as if we were abandoned animals thrown out of a car.
Some of the families bring them here and never visit again. You wouldn't believe it. Of course, we're like family now.
And now we have the Golden Age Nostalgia Show, sent to us by Samuel B. King, who is a senior citizen and the creator and producer of this show. He is visiting the Senior Center at Wilmington, Delaware, and you will find his production most interesting. We were delighted to receive a follow-up letter from Mr. King announcing his impending move to the West Coast, where he plans to get married.
Well, now the band is going to get together and, well, tell us a little bit about the band.
Well, our band is comprised of all former professional musicians. They're all retired people, and we come every Monday and we rehearse for 2 hours, and then we play for the members to dance for 2 hours.
Well, that's great. So we're going to close up our show, this portion of the show, with the band playing, and I understand you have some band leaders that were, somebody was telling me that you got some real pros in here. Or what?
Well, we have, well, as I told you, we're all pro musicians,
right.
And we're only going to play one tune for you. We'd like to do Woody Herman's Wood Chopper's Ball.
The Wood Chopper's Ball.
Right.
Thank you very much.
1, 2, 3, 4.
the music masters. The music masters.
Robert Peñalosa of Madison, Wisconsin, sent us this lively discussion that narrows the gap between generations. It's called Intergenerational Communication, and it's from a series called Senior Beat.
You know, one time Kathy was, and I were talking a little bit about the problems of talking to, that she might have, talking to older people. And she said, well, she was afraid of hurting their feelings. And that is kind of a stereotype, is that older people are very fragile, and young people are likely to insult them by referring to them maybe as old.
Old.
Oh, boy. Or something like that. And is that really true? Do you feel that way too, Max, at all?
The only reason I'd feel that way is because if you say something that the older person doesn't believe in, you know, because they were probably brought up differently and raised and disciplined much more than, say, I would be. And if you said something that you believed in and they didn't believe in, you'd start yelling at each other, probably. And then if you came to realize what you were doing, yelling at, like, a friend or just anybody, because that's not the right thing to do.
You know, when I was a kid, there was no such thing as teen culture. You know, there really wasn't. I believe, and we have a little evidence, documentation to substantiate this, that the whole concept of a teen culture as an entity was generated, invented, and really pushed onto people by the advertising industry after World War II. And now people tend to accept it and say, teens are something separate and they have a separate culture and you can't talk in and out of that culture, you can only communicate within it. And I think that's a bunch of nonsense, you know, and we see that this is breaking down once in a while in a few places. But how about that? Talk a little bit about teen culture. Do you really think it exists as a separate kind of a thing?
I think there are different cultures. I don't know if maybe I'd characterize it as a teen culture. I mean, for instance, I don't listen to rap music, and I had to ask you people before the show, now, who is New Edition? Never heard of them. And that's just a culture that I'm really not a part of.
Gee, you're old already.
I'm old already. But at the same time, I listen to Pink Floyd and Ian Hunter and people like that, and I'm sure I would draw blank stares from you people. So I think that there are different. I think that there are different levels.
Yes,
and
I do too.
maybe I don't really feel a part of the teen culture anymore. Not
But
being
you see,
a teenager.
back when I was a kid, there was more of a continuity. Everybody listened to Glenn Miller when he played music. That was listened to by people of all ages and enjoyed. You know, everybody danced to that kind of stuff. There wasn't a separate segment of music identified just with kids. I think that that is something that has happened for the purpose of selling records, and that a large part of the music which is hyped that way and sold that way, you outgrow quickly. As you pointed out, you are now out of that culture entirely, and it doesn't appeal to you.
I may be a special case, but I was never in it.
I'm getting some doubtful looks on people's faces here. Come on, give me an argument,
But give us
guys.
an argument. Tell us how you feel about that.
Debbie, what can you tell us about what satellites are?
For example, the deep dish television network, that has basically been a group of people that decided to use satellite technology to disseminate community programming of interest to the general community. And they sent out a call for entries and designated groups around the country to produce programs on certain topic areas. And Portland, Oregon, and specifically age-wise, is the producing group for this program on aging. So here in Oregon, your group has basically taken submissions from all over the country and has put together a composite hour program of programs on aging from around the country. That program will be sent to New York, and in the third week of June, that program will be played. It will be uplinked to satellite. We will downlink it using a receive dish, and it will air over our Community Access Network channel as it is being downlinked from the satellite.
And now we have a tape from the San Diego Stew series entitled Seasoned Citizens, sent us by Nancy Osberg, who has shown us the activities of seniors in that area, which include such interesting activities as a lady who learned to fly at age 70, and you'll see gentlemen of senior age surfing daily in the wonderful waters of Southern California. Let's watch them in action.
If an older person today is finding themselves isolated from other people, they're probably going to have to work a lot harder to get out and get involved and form relationships with other people. They've probably found it hard all their life to do this, and it is a difficult thing for us to build relationships. We like to maintain our own independence and all that. So in light of that, if that would be my advice today for an older person to get out and get involved, I think that what we need to do then is talk to the people that are, well, they say at 5 years of age and older, you should start training people to be older. And so I would say to the people that were listening today that if you have not yet reached 60 years of age, especially the men, that they'll start looking for some activities that's going to build relationships with other people. Don't be an 8-to-5-er, and the job, the primary thing in your life. You have got to learn to do things at a young age if you're going to do them when you get older. Everybody's learning now. Come on a safari with me. Come on a safari with me. Early in the morning we'll be starting out. Some honeys will be baking the scene. I loaded up my woody with the boards on top, and I put on my faded blue jeans, 'cause we're a come on baby, wait and see, yes, I'm gonna take you surfing safari. Come on baby, wait and see, yes, I'm gonna take you surfing safari. Let's go surfing now, everybody's learning now. Come on a safari with me. Come on a safari. At Huntington, Malibu, they're shooting the beer. At Rincon, they're walking the nose.
These seasoned citizens are retired professional men who have been surfing for over 30 years. Each morning they meet at Tourmaline Beach to surf. After a few good waves, they warm up with a cup of hot coffee and some cookies.
Older people themselves are looking at themselves differently. I think there's a feeling of wanting to assert their individuality, wanting to make sure that society knows that they are not in a rocking chair, that there's life and there's excitement. And perhaps I've talked with many seniors, life might be better after 70 or 80. You have all your worries behind you. You've given up the difficulty of raising your children. And now you have time to do what you really want to do. I have a poster in my office, which I like very much, and it says, it's not how old you are, it is how you are old. And I think that is very, very true. I get very excited when I talk to the people who come to Cedar Community Center because I learn a great deal from each one of them. I appreciate and become energized by their excitement and their energy about their lives and what they are doing.
I'll never be a senior, and let me tell you why. I can't go home at 8 p.m. and watch the world go by. I want to be out with the crowd and dance till midnight too. And then I'll go home and hit the sack and sleep the whole night through. No Boston rocking chair for me. I've had my share, you know. I've rocked 3 babies many years, and now I want to go. I'm young at heart, I'll stay that way, as long as I have breath. And if I can, I hope I can, I'll dance myself to death.
The Spirit Must Have Started Movin' grew from an oral history project on 5 black women, and it documents the black woman's political identity, both past and present. Dana Ray Warren sent us this from Huntington, Vermont.
Oh, yeah. Better get your ticket. Oh, yeah. Better get your ticket. Better get your ticket. Better get your ticket. Oh, yeah. Riding in the front seat. Oh, yeah. Riding in the front seat. Oh, yeah. Riding in the front seat. Riding in the front seat. Riding in the front seat. Oh, yeah. Oh, Bonnie, can't you hear them? Oh, yeah. Bonnie, can't you hear them?
Angela Davis once said, "Like my mother, what I did without fanfare. It seemed to me that if there were hungry children, something was wrong, and if I did nothing about it, I would be wrong too." A proud woman in Greenville, Mississippi, expresses that she has always had that kind of commitment to children everywhere. Born in 1896, Mrs. Miriam Isabella Kelly raised 1 daughter and a grandson, but she has parented and advocated for many other children as well.
From 16 years old, I saw how children were mistreated and abused, and I felt for them because, in a way, I was an abused child.
Mrs. Kelly was reared in the family of a white judge. Through her often difficult experiences in this adoptive family, she learned to empathize with children. In later years, she used her book knowledge to write letters to Black Congressman Adam Clayton Powell and President John F. Kennedy, requesting that they help her establish a child development program.
And I told them I was tired of going by these stores and those poor little hungry children out there begging for pennies to buy something because their parents were at work. And when they'd come in at night after the field, or they'd come in at night off a day's work, they wasn't able to cook anything. I said, if you give that child 1 meal a day, he could live with that. I mean, a balanced meal a day, he could live with that.
Her intolerance for the injustice has led her to question even the most basic assumptions. In discussion, she said she gets all her inspiration from God, but does not accept his actions without challenge.
You know who I'm afraid of? That being, a man or whatever he is up above them clouds. And I tell everybody, if he was down here, some of the things he does, they say he does it, I think we'd have a fight. At least he doesn't do those things, but he permits the devil to do them. You're not supposed to question God's doings and things, but I still...
Afro-American history contains countless stories of creative survival. Many blacks have responded to attempted racist dehumanization by creating strategies to cope with oppression and improve their lives. In this way, Mrs. Kelly decided that voting was important enough to tell a registrar that she was old enough to vote when she was not.
I never really lied all the time or anything, but if it was something really important, I wouldn't tell you the truth about it. Most of the time, I wouldn't say nothing at all. But I remember that I put my age up the first time I read it. I remember that.
These challenges happened in personal areas as well.
Now we have a tape from the Big Apple. Susan Stone Shapiro from New York City has prepared a tape entitled Neighbors Meeting Neighbors from the Vasca series. In this segment, New York seniors go upstate, out of the Big Apple, and share some summer vacation fun. Let's enjoy that with them.
We meet some very nice people up there. Everybody seemed like one big happy family.
It's a place where you can go swimming, go boating, lie in the sun, and the underlying tone is it's a chance for you to be with peers. It's a chance for you to see that you're still wanted and you're needed.
I think the main need that's being addressed by the vacation programs is a chance for older people to get together with their peers in a relaxed atmosphere and to have a change of scenery. The group that we really try to reach out to the most are those people that are become more socially isolated. By getting those people to come up to the country with some of their peers begins to make major changes in them. They all of a sudden start to see that there still are so many things that they can do. They can make new friends. They can have the companionship. They can learn new skills. And they can share the skills that they know best with their peers.
Some days we have craft, and you're at your leisure. You can do whatever you want to do. But the craft work is very interesting. You learn something each time the teacher comes. And I think it's very, very nice.
You've got to make sure you get the proportions right, though, so that it fits on your face, so you can see through the eyes. You see.
The food was marvelous, absolutely. We all came away weighing 3 pounds more.
When I go there, first of all, I do a lot of reading. I love to read. And then I do some craft work. And then we walk around the trees and come back, which it's nice because see, I'm a city girl. And walking around the trees, it makes you feel good for a change.
There's a spiritual aspect to it too, because you feel like one. You feel you're in tune to something peaceful. You feel at peace. You forget everything and you just go along for that week. And you look forward to next year, you know.
2,000 years ago, there was a school of Ptolemy scientists, and this was the theory of the world at that time. The Earth is standing still. See? Do you see it moving? It's not moving. Look, we're sitting here. It's not moving. The Earth is standing still.
The programs offered at the vacation centers are very varied. Music appreciation, some outdoor activities of taking nature walks, perhaps some lectures where some new skills might be learned, or again, one of the guests themselves may want to tell something about their line of work or their particular hobby.
You throw a ball up, it comes down. What goes up must come down. That's what people say. Except.
The other part of the vacation program that I think is most exciting is the fact that the programs themselves appeal to a variety of clientele. 2 of our programs deal with people who are blind. At least 3 programs take physically handicapped individuals and integrate them very nicely into the entire program. There are also a number of the facilities that have on-site a children's camp or an adult vacation family center, so that there's some chance for integration of ages.
You have 63.
Just about a year ago in July, I was at a national conference for the National Federation of Local Cable Programmers in Chicago. And there was this meeting of this group of people who were interested in the Deep Dish television network. And essentially, Deep Dish is a group of community television advocates that wanted to utilize satellite technology to disseminate community television on a national basis by satellite. And while I was at this meeting, they basically asked if there were different sites, different people present who would be interested in assisting with taking care of one installment of the 13-part series that the Deep Dish Network would disseminate. come this June. And we here at Portland Cable Access, really our responsibility is to facilitate programs that are produced by our volunteers. And I decided that I would put in that we would do the segment on aging here in Portland, Oregon, because the AgeWise group had really just been fired up and gotten started utilizing our facility. So I thought I'll take the risk of doing that, and I said, well, we in Portland would be interested in producing the segment on aging. Basically, in the way that it works here, I personally have had nothing to do with the production of the program. Melinda McCrossan, Tom Taylor, Frank Myers, yourself, and all of the other AgeWise volunteers participated in soliciting bids from around the country on program submissions, collecting those programs, viewing those programs, picking segments of those programs to combine into a 1-hour program on aging.
Terrence Duran of Fort Wayne, Indiana, sent us this selection, Feeling 15 at 69, from a series, Cuban American Women. It's the story of a woman who was a Cuban judge who comes to the United States and is unable to practice her profession here. She and her husband begin their new life with resilience and a wonderful sense of humor.
When I left Cuba, as I said before, I knew very well that I could work here as a lawyer. And I came here with the firm determination to do whatever I have to do to support myself and my daughter, and later to bring my husband, because he stayed in Cuba, he could come with us. And I knew very well that I was the one that have to do that. When I came, I have not a penny, because they don't let us to bring even a penny, nothing, dresses, just 2 dresses, and well, but I knew very well that I have to work here, so it was not a surprise for me, and I decided to come here because we wanted to take our daughter from that system, so it was not a surprise for me. And when I started working, I was real happy, because I started working, and the first thing that I did in Miami was, I think that taking care of children, of little children. Well, this is something new, because in Cuba we have no babysitters. In Cuba, all the relatives, the grandmothers and the aunts and the older sisters take care of the children. But here it's another business. And so I took care of some children. But when I knew that it was not enough, I started cleaning houses. One day in a week. And so later the lady in the house, or one of the house, she wanted me to be a steady maid. So I decided, because she was paying me $35 in a week. It was a great deal of money. I need $400 to bring my husband from Cuba. I said, this is a great, by that time I am talking about 1963. I was really happy with that job. Very, very happy. Well, I was a lawyer, I was a judge, but here I wasn't, I could do that. So I was very fortunate that I could work and earn that money. I have no hard feelings, no. I think that that God gave me the opportunity to work and to earn money, because I always said that I like to earn the money that they pay me. I don't want anything for nothing. And even that I have to work very hard as a maid, being a lawyer and a judge in Cuba, I was happy. I was grateful. And later the lady was moving back to Washington or something, and so I started working in a factory. When I came to the United States, I knew very well that I could work here as a lawyer, because the law is different in Cuba, was different like in the United States. So I could start in the university, because I have nothing to start to pay my studies. So I have to go to work very hard. But later, when I had the opportunity to study at Gainesville, oh, it was really something, because I was by that time 60 years old. And you know, a woman 60 years old, even that I felt like 15, really. I am not, I don't feel old.
You feel like that?
Oh, yes, I still feel like 15 years old.
How old
My
are
husband
you?
is always telling me that I am wrong, but I feel I
old
tell
are
you
you
the
now?
truth. I am 69.
Bob Walker from Blacksburg, Virginia, sends us a tape entitled Well-Known Stranger, or Howard Finster's Workout. It's the documentary of a 72-year-old folk artist from Somerville, Georgia, a dynamic and outgoing man who has took up painting at the age of 60 after being a Pentecostal minister and odd-job small motor repairman for 45 years. He picks a mean banjo, sings gospel songs, some of which he has composed, and he will no longer be a stranger after you see this intimate look at his artistry.
Well, I started painting in 1976. I was a retired pastor. I'd been pastoring since I started preaching. I was about 16 years old. And I pastored 45 years, I guess, 9 different churches. And I stayed at one church 15 years and 3 months. And I asked them that night in the service what I preached on that morning. And one man come up with knowing my text, and the rest of them didn't even remember what I preached from one service to another. And I had a feeling to build a garden, and I wanted to build it on their land there at the church. I had a big, beautiful, big place, you know, out in the woods, and I couldn't get no cooperation, so I just built it in my backyard. And my backyard now has grown into a city block. And I built it in my backyard, and then now then, my messages now are in tractor enamel, and if they see it today, they won't forget it tomorrow. Now, I'm in a better minister work now, what's called visual art. Yeah, I do a devil's vice, warning young people about cocaine and stuff like that. And that vice has got a woman in it, and she's clamped down in it, and she's calling for help, and all over the vice it tells us many things that you get trapped on. And that vice has become a popular item. I guess I've done 100 of them, and they're in magazines and books. That one vice will reach millions of people. That one vice will reach more people than I ever reached in my 45 years minister, not even counting the other 4,431 pieces. I was a bicycle repairman on the sideline, small motor repairman, and I done bicycle work, and I done a lot of touching up on them, you know, and I tried to touch them up with a brush, and one day I found out I could touch them up better by rubbing them in with my fingers. So one day I was dipped my finger in white paint, something like this. And I looked at it, and it was so much like a human there, and rounding off like a human face. The feeling flashed over me, just paint sacred art. And I said to it, I said, I can't do that. I says, I know professional can, but not me, you know. And it come back to me again and said, how do you know? And I asked myself that question, how do I know? And I took a $1 bill out of my wallet, and pasted it, taped it on a piece of plywood, and went out in front of the bicycle shop. And I started drawing George Washington off of that $1 bill, which is unbelievable to me. And the school kids got out, and they backed up around my chair watching me. I had an audience painting my first piece, you know. And after that, then I finally just molded my bicycle tools all in my walk. When you go there, you can walk over them. And I started full-time art. I've done 4,400. This will be 433rd one right here.
More Alive is a series designed to reach more of the senior adult population through television. It contains useful information and inspiration through polished studio production, and it was submitted by Joe Murphy of Aurora, Colorado.
enjoy my More Alive exercises because I have so much more energy the rest of the day.
This week we're going to concentrate on arthritis exercises. Like Dr. Glassman said, you have to listen to your body. You can't do too much wear and tear on your joints if you have arthritis, but you can't sit still. You must keep moving, but go at your own pace. And remember, you don't want any pain. You want to be very gentle. That's why More Alive exercises are just meant for people either preventing arthritis or helping you with arthritis. So we want to do a series today where we're working on joints. So think about every single joint that you have in your body. Our fingers, our wrists, shoulders, hips, knees, ankles are the major ones. And then think of the various areas of our back. That's another prevalent area where we get arthritis. So by the time we're done with our 10 minutes of More Alive exercises, we want to feel like we've done a complete, total exercise program for our whole body, especially our joints today. So let's start by just stretching. Remember to put some breathing with it. Inhale as you stretch, exhale as you release. Inhale as you stretch, exhale as you release. Inhale as you stretch, exhale as you release. Remember, people with arthritis have a tendency to have poor posture and round shoulders, so we want to work constantly on good posture, mountain pose, or spinal alignment. So feet straight ahead, knees in line, hips tilted, pull in on those stomach muscles, stretch up in the rib cage, and stretch your sternum muscles. And chin parallel to stretch that cervical spine. Now we're going to do a spinal roll, which is a good overall spine exercise. So take a deep breath, inhale, and as you exhale, roll down one vertebrae at a time.
The First Amendment, it's our constitutional guarantee that we can say most anything we want to say in public, in private, in print, radio, television, and cable. It's fundamental to making our democracy work. It's also a practical day-to-day principle that we can apply when we make decisions regarding our use of media. Sometimes it's hard to put into practice. In Pocatello, Idaho, a local group wanted to run Race and Reason on the public access channel. Race and Reason is a hardcore racist film. Many in the community said, no, it's vile, it's inflammatory, we shouldn't run that sort of thing on public access. But they did run it, and it generated a massive public outpouring. They produced counter-programming on public access channels, and Pocatello found out not only was Race and Reason a ridiculous program, but that they, Pocatello, had a strong and well-founded belief in human decency. Public access works, the First Amendment works, put them together.
And now we have an excellent documentary from the Generations series entitled Somerville Elders, Where Are They Going to Go? This discusses the growing housing problems for the elderly and was sent us by the producer, Libba Ingram.
It's changing from a working class city possibly to a partially yuppified city, and there is a class polarization in the country, which is being reflected in Somerville. I mean, if you got your starving poor, forget them. You got your working poor, and you got your middle class poor, and you got these other groups who have the money that can buy and almost bid up prices of property and housing.
You're a yuppie in Somerville, you can afford to pay $700, $800, $900, $1,000 a month. If you're 4 or 5 students living together, you can afford a hell of a lot more than an elderly person on a fixed income. So I get calls all the time from elderly people who tell me that their rents have been increased and they can no longer afford. Their rents have gone beyond what they get for a monthly income.
Increasing rent means decreasing dinners, health care, clothing. I mean, that's the only options when rents go up for older people.
My rent is all of my income.
Margaret Hurley has lived in an apartment outside Davis Square for 23 years. Her rent has risen to $500 in the last 2 years. Her only source of income is a monthly Social Security check for $507.
I just can't make ends meet. There's so many thousand and million and one things, you know, that it's very important to take care of my health. I cannot do it.
Miss Hurley views moving to elderly housing as a loss of her independence and wants to stay in her own apartment.
I go in and I go out, and I'm very happy on my own. Don't talk about anybody. I like the neighbors.
The housing situation for renters in Somerville who are elderly is terrible. They're facing a shelter crisis of, I think, enormous proportions because they're being evicted by their landlords, who are typically new purchasers of their homes and living on fixed incomes, as most of them do. They have no options to move to another apartment in the private sector. Their only real options are to move to public or subsidized housing for the elderly, and there isn't enough of that available for the numbers of elders who are being evicted. Typical eviction happens because a person lives in a 2 or 3 family house, has lived there for many, many years. My typical client has lived in the apartment they're in for anywhere between 10 and 30 or 40 years. The house has been sold. It's been sold to a young professional couple or a young professional individual who have bought that house for a lot of money, have financed it for a lot of money, has a gigantic mortgage payment to meet, and figured that they would meet that mortgage payment in part by collecting a lot of rent from their tenant. Now they've got an elderly tenant who lives on a fixed income, and they can't afford a doubled rent or a tripled rent, and so they end up getting evicted.
People just took your life and ripped it apart with no consideration for you, just because it was in their financial interest to do so. In the kind of rationalizations that they make is, well, look, I paid all this money for this real estate and I have to do it. Well, why the hell did you pay that much? If you knew that when you paid that part of what you were going to do to make your profit was this ugliness.
Being homeless and being elderly, it has to be devastating. They just don't deserve it after putting in a whole life of service or working or family, and they just, deserve more than ending up being homeless on the streets.
20% of the homeless population is over 65 years old. It's a scary, scary situation. It's usually people who are displaced at this point. It's not alcoholics or all crazy people. I mean, I see people who remind me a lot of my grandmother on the streets, and it is really, really scary. It's what happens when the real estate industry is allowed their head. They don't care about people.
It's the poor that spend the price, too.
And finally, it's my special honor to be able to introduce to the entire nation our own age-wise promotional tape. This was produced by Kay Boylan, who is beside me at the moment, and I'd like to ask Kay to tell us a little about what you're about to see.
This is a quick review of our age-wise production activities, and it was originally done to invite more volunteers to join us. It's showbiz with a difference for this group of seniors. We're producing Age-Wise, a live cable TV show twice monthly in Portland, Oregon. Our magazine format features news about seniors for seniors. It covers news about social agency services, health tips, money management, special activities, and the importance of reaching out to others, keeping in touch with a changing world. There's a lot of work and new things to learn, and we're having a ball doing it.
There's just so many things that we can do instead of staying home and saying, I feel sorry for myself. Nothing to do. It's a beautiful world out there, and the only way we're going to find out is to get out and be part of it.
This whole idea was the brainchild of Tom Taylor, who received a grant from the Fred Myers Charitable Trust to initiate and direct the project. The Center for Urban Education is our sponsoring agent. Productions are now smooth sailing with only occasional glitches, but this wasn't the case in the beginning. Volunteers are first given a basic orientation in the production of cable TV. Then it's down to work.
You have to get lots of practice by doing lots of studio productions. Practice, practice, practice.
Oh, I know that.
It was on-the-job training for our first studio productions, with seniors operating the lighting system, cameras, sound equipment, and control booth.
I meet the first criterion by being over 60. And then secondly, I have worked with public access TV for a number of years, and this was an opportunity to use that training that I received for nothing. And I enjoy the company of those like-minded.
A producer, floor director, talent coordinator, and a scriptwriter are also needed to produce Age-Wise. During a live production, the control booth crew needs a shader, a graphics operator, a switcher, an audio engineer, and a program director.
And here on input B, which is going to be program, if you can punch up camera 1, will be...
On-camera hosting is also done by seniors.
Age-Wise is a program put on by seniors who have really not had much previous experience.
Age-Wise offers scriptwriting, producing, and directing classes, as well as hands-on training with portable camera, sound, and lighting equipment for remote production of program segments. An essential part of production is the editing of each program segment. Melinda McCrossan, program manager, and Tom Taylor work with senior producers on this final stage.
My particular interest is painting, and of course that's pretty confining. I'm by myself quite a bit. And the people are nice, and the staff, it's really a great place to be.
Behind the scenes, people, paperwork, and meetings for public relations, and the survey of our viewing audience are all essential for a successful program.
I've belonged as a volunteer for several months, and I really love it. It's learning something new that I really enjoy. And what's more, it keeps me young.
It's 60 plus and still learning for Age-Wise seniors, with ongoing classes for volunteers, plus hands-on experience. Twice a month, it's lights, camera, action. Won't you join us in the fun?
I'm sorry we didn't have enough time to show every bit of every one of the marvelous entries.
Age-Wise staff and volunteers really enjoyed seeing what producers around the country consider age-wise material.
And if you're over 60, we'd still like to see the type of material that you consider suitable for age-wise programming. Our address is Age-Wise in care of the Center for Urban Education at 1135 Southeast Salmon Street. That's salmon just like those Chinook salmon we find right here in the Willamette River nearby our office, Kay. Portland, Oregon, 97214. If you'd like to give us a call, it's area code 503-231-1285. And we'd love to hear from you.
Yes, we enjoy sharing our experiences with you, too. And thank you for watching us, and keep up the good work.
Bye.